We still live in a world with so deep emotional wounding, as if there's good emotions and bad emotions. Good ones are the ones that make us feel good. Bad ones are the ones that make us feel bad. Hey, I'm Lou Malia. I'm a connection architect and beauty hunter here at Celebrate Again. And I'm so excited to share with you this discovery I found around emotions in my own personal experience and a little bit of what I share in my book, Blooming Upside Down. How do you feel about emotions? They've historically been something that has been labeled good or bad in most people I know. I've learned that emotions really just want to be experienced. I had to learn this the hard way, though. A little bit more of that I talk about in my book, Blooming Upside Down, which you totally grab a copy if you're just in the muck of it and want some hope. Yet, all emotions are motivators. They're just here to help us ask to pay attention to something. They are sometimes tied to a story, and sometimes are collections from others, spaces around us, our environments, and some other stories kind of stuck on repeat. But what if emotions aren't something to be afraid of? Yet we all have this very real wound that we should be terrified of them. In my book, Blooming Upside Down, I share a story about becoming a good listener to ourselves. And in it, I talk about a time when I sat before my own therapist saying, I'm afraid if I feel my feelings, I'm going to drown. Maybe that sounds familiar. My therapist replied, all her patients feel the same. But part of me has always wanted to ask, why are we so damn afraid of feeling our sensations in our bodies? And I came to some really interesting conclusion that may not surprise you, is around patriarchy and colonialization. So hang on. Why are emotions such a freaking scary thing for us? It's a real question. This brings me back to some tidbits I learned in school. That when the Europeans came to conquer all the world, in colonialism, intervention was necessary to civilize societies that was deemed as rational behavior. Without going down a deep rabbit hole that I'm honestly not qualified to do, I want to acknowledge that within us all, or at least most of us in Western or European descent or cultural exposure, have this inherited wound that in us that says rationality is superior to emotional experiences. Logic is better than what you feel. Does that resonate? And do you know what that does? It says emotions are obsolete. And the person emoting is the one who is kicked out of society. And it is very real. Very, 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 very real. Even in schools, the children who cries past kindergarten in class is the one who gets made fun of, is misunderstood and picked on, or is labeled as sensitive. However, I want to take a close look at our hearts and histories and ask about what part of us is labeling others this way. Is it deeply ingrained power dynamic that makes us feel better about ourselves for not being emotional? But what happens when you ignore your emotions, your bodily sensations, wanting a release and to be experienced and heard? Well, you stuff them down with every distraction and numbing agent we have access to. I'll refrain from naming them because none alone need to be demonized. But whatever first pops in your head is probably your thing, or you've been affected by it in your personal life. What happens is we become diseased, we have mental illnesses, we have breakdowns of our bodies, our organs, and our societies are not able to come together to function communities, wanting further isolation to be only with the ones who think and look like me. And we go down the spectrum with these attributes. We isolate the bubbles and then judge all the other experiences other than ours. So guilty of this myself. We create more separation and more of this wound we carry within us that says, I am this way, therefore superior. It's the same thing as colonialism. It's the patriarchy's favorite anthem. To find importance in differentiation, to soothe that deep I'm not enough wound. Classic. So we create societies and cultures that live to hustle and produce and consume and forget who we even are, lost, alone, and do we not even understand what sadness is? Whew! Overwhelmed? Me too. Let's pause and take a deep breath together. And even if you're like, oh, I'm just going to skip this part, rolling your eyes in disbelief, and you're still here because part of you knows, really knows, that you need to be seen and validated in your experiences, in your emotional experiences. So let's exhale and count of 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. How you feeling? Breath is a beautiful thing, isn't it? But did you see that? I asked how you're feeling. Were you able to name it? Calm. I bet most of us said we're relaxed. Or maybe annoyed. Who knows? We can name the good emotions, but we need highly trained facilitators to help us name our hard ones because they are associated with someone who doesn't belong. But what if we started to normalize the experience of emotions? What if we saw more people crying? What if we saw more people shaking their bodies, somatically releasing their anger? What if we asked more friendly people for mutually consented hugs? What if emotions became safe again? So, how can you get more permission to let your own emotions out safely? Start in your own presence. Start with a beloved, start with a friend, and let's watch the world change to a place where we are no longer quieting our children for being upset, letting them cry for 10 minutes if they need to, and never once telling them or yourself, it's okay, stop crying. We don't need to do this to ourselves or each other. What if we got to a place where we could hold everyone else's emotional release and not be afraid of them and what they might be asking of us? I wrote this poem that feels present. I want to share with you. Maybe you've called yourself a romantic because romantic love was the only place you felt allowed to fully express the deep passion you have inside your veins. The biome of your gut always wanting to explode in joy, but you've only been given it one avenue. So your belly swells along with your womb each month, and now it's wrangled inside your inner toddler still living in the cells of your body. She has the leash your mom made you wear shopping because you would have run away. You've always been the fearless, that wild, untamed. Yet you put on a good little girl dress to keep them near, to get their smiles on you because at least then you'd be loved. But darling, you weren't meant to just be passionate with one man. You weren't meant for one vein to your heart. Don't you know you have 34? And what about the fascia, these roads still so little known, just like you? You came here to wildly explore, to touch the places you've been told we cannot go, because you were willing on a Friday afternoon at 4 to let your womb pain out. Groan like the lion in birth, moan like the elephant in mourning, rage like the baboon in war, pounding your chest, your thighs, your heart. They keep labeling this as somatic work. But something in your bones knows that this is just what we used to do until too many white men with their heads bloated like balloons, helium-filled, made smaller in tone, said you cannot behave like the animal. Even though it is when you remember you are also part wolf and howl with the full moon that something in you comes alive. As if werewolves weren't a myth, but the heart of the people who knew how to truly weep when the tribe is in grief. So no, you're not a romantic doing the somatic release. You are a woman to be here unapologetically true, so we all remember how important it is we express our inner beasts. The 4, They swallow us whole, along with the earth, and wonder why our hands can no longer hold each other, having grown so weak. So here's your invitation. Try something small. The next time you want to go reach for something to feel the void of an emotional experience, see if you can let it out with your voice, with your body, with a friend that feels safe. Try journaling, try shaking, try stomping on the ground when you're angry. I have a whole article about this, how to feel your feelings, and how to control your feelings. I'll link them below, and you can give them a go and see what happens when you give yourself to actually experience your emotions with you leading the way, instead of feeling like you have to have a trained facilitator to do it, because I think your body already knows what to do. You just haven't given it permission to actually experience your emotions. So, let it go. See what happens. Check out those articles I got for you, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me today.